Wow. Hello, YouTube. My goodness, this is my first ever live video on YouTube. I'm so excited. And I've done live video on Facebook before, and actually, I just did one. I've never done it before here. I'm really excited. Please do me a favor. I think you guys can chat. Let me know if you can hear me. That's the most important thing because I have a feeling you can't hear me. I want to make sure you can because otherwise, I'm going to start over. You can just let me know, thumbs up or something, if you can hear me, because I don't see this microphone thing moving, and that's a problem. Let me know if you guys can hear me in that chat. I'm not sure how to do any of this. I'm gonna get used to this. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Thanks, David. It's fine if you can't stick around. I totally understand. Thanks, Diana. Hey, Diana. Good. Okay, so I know from experience with Facebook Live, I gotta wait a few minutes here just to make sure so more people can get in. So we're just gonna hang out for a bit. So we're here in my bedroom. How nice for you guys to come and hang out for a little bit. Um, as I said, I've been doing some Facebook Live stuff before, and then I just did another one. It's been a long time since I did one, but I just did one half an hour ago, and that went well. And I want to give you guys the most love because you've been here the longest, and I so appreciate my YouTube audience of everybody. You guys are the best. So thanks for showing up. Let me know in the comment section that you're here and where you're from, where do you guys live, and I'll try to say a little hello when I get a second here. So it's been a couple minutes now. I'm going to start diving into our topic today. As you guys know, I am Sherry from The Watering Mouth, and this is a website that's dedicated to the Eat to Live lifestyle. So if you've been following me for any time, you'd know that I've been doing this for a while, and I'm also a coach for the lifestyle. Eat to Live is actually a book. Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Furman. Amazing nutrient-rich program for fast and sustained weight loss. Diana's here from Houston. Go Houston. My husband's from Texas, so we like Texas over here. So we talk about Eat to Live on this channel. We talk about the nutritarian lifestyle, which is all from this book. This is the original copy I bought. If you can tell, it's been I think I spilled a glass of water on it at one point. I've got my original notes from when I first read the book here, just kind of going through the little specific things that I wanted to remember, like symptoms of true hunger here. And I have this one here that says, why not eat meat? Because I needed a reminder of why. And I think this one might actually be signed as well. Yeah. A couple years ago, I met him for the first time and he signed my copy. So that was super awesome for me. If you guys haven't seen that interview, I interviewed him twice now, which is amazing. So, and then this is a bookmark that I made. It's like this abstract fruits and vegetables with watercolor. I did that a long time ago. Okay, anyways. So this, my whole website talks about the Eat to Live lifestyle from this book, which if you don't know much about it, please check out the book. It just might change your life. Hello, plant-based whole food lifestyle channel, Plants and Recreation. Hello, Frankie, you're back. I'm so happy to see you here too. She was on my Facebook Live. It's nice to see you from Washington. I think it's the same Frankie that I was talking to over on Facebook recently, earlier. S. Johnson from Virginia. So good to see you guys. Thanks for showing up. So this lifestyle is all about not only weight loss, right? We talk a lot about weight loss, but we lose weight in order to get the other benefits, which are the health and longevity. Anything that has to do with diseases you might have, they can be greatly improved with this type of eating if you really stick to it and get a lot of nutrients in. So diabetes, heart disease, all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very important type of lifestyle. I myself have lowered my cholesterol in the past. We tend to have high cholesterol in my family. And actually, I had high cholesterol coming out of pregnancy, and I'm going to be testing it again sometime this month or next month to see how much I've brought it down because that's a challenge that I've had as well. And you guys know I didn't have a very good pregnancy diet, so but I was able to lose all the weight and get back on track, and that's a testament to how awesome this lifestyle is. So, what I wanted to about today specifically was this last video that I put up, this 4 sneaky myths of Eat to Live. And I wanted to kind of get a little bit more in depth there, and I wanted to sort of take your questions. Um, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them on this video. I'm just going to sort of run through a little bit, give a little more recap, but also talk a little bit more in depth about from my experiences. And hopefully this video will help you because I feel like this particular topic, when we talk about the very minute details, the minutia, the nuances of this kind of stuff. This is really the important stuff, right? Like anyone can read the book, right? I read the book. We'll talk more about that in a second, but I read the book and I was sold on what to do, but I wasn't sold on doing it. And so I think this is what I try to do in my coaching. I'm an Eat to Live coach. I've been doing that for over a year now. I love it. And I do feel like I can bring a lot to the table. You guys know I've done a lot of videos in the past and struggled myself and been able to figure out how to kind of make this a part of my life very specifically. We have a friend that just showed up. She's my manager. She's my business manager. This is Moo. You guys, um, she's always got to be involved, and you can see that she's quite involved right now. Okay, so yeah, so we'll jump in, talk about the myths, and as we go, if you have any questions, Amanda says hi, kitty. Moo says hi back. Let me know in the comment section. I'll be answering what I can as we go. I also have a ton of links that I'll probably be talking about. So check out the hey Cam, good to see you. Check out the description in this video, which you will be able to see under the show more section after it's like published or whatever. I don't know where I've never done this before, so I don't know if you can see them now or not. But I'm gonna actually, you know what? Maybe I can just comment the links real quick. I'm gonna put these in here. So everything I'm gonna be talking about is gonna be within these links. Oh no, that's the old one. Sorry guys, live video, real life. Anyways, so I'm gonna put these in here now, and then if you guys want to see them, you can also see them after the video has been published. Nope, that's too big. I can't do it. Okay, sorry, whatever. You can see them after the video is published. So I'm going to be talking about a few things. We're going to jump into the sneaky myths that I talked about in this video. The first myth is that you're not going to like the food and you don't want to just eat salads for your whole life. I get it. I completely understand that. Also, guys, give me a thumbs up if you like this. If you like me doing live videos, that'll help me understand that you want me to do this more. And oh yeah, Cam has a good suggestion about autumn hacks to be on track. Things for the fall. So make sure you guys give me a thumbs up as we go. If you like things I say or you want me to do more of these videos, that'll help. That'll help me a lot. So the first tip here, I'm not going to like the food. Now I have to admit, when I started Eat to Live, like it's kind of embarrassing, but so I read the book in 2 days over one weekend. I mean, I remember I was staying at my dad's house at the time and I put a big, huge blanket in the jacuzzi because I never use a jacuzzi because I don't really like those. And I just read the book cover to cover the whole weekend. I mean, it was like, I just loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm so excited. I'm so going to do this. But then when flip to the back of the book, it has all the stuff about what the actual meals are that you're going to be making. And I was like, want that's not the kind of food I want. And honestly, it wasn't until 3 months later that I actually made my first Eat to Live meal. What happened was I went to a friend's house, Catherine, who's the one who actually introduced me to this lifestyle. She was searching for it for her mother's health and for her own health, and she was having some really good success on it. She told me about the book. I read it, and then it wasn't until she actually made me 2 things that I finally was like, oh, wow. It was a smoothie and it was a salad. And I finally was like, wow, I could actually eat this food. I actually really like this. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how much I liked it. Now, we were using salt. At the time, we used Bragg's liquid aminos and we were using some extra dates for a little sweetness, but you were still getting in massive amounts of greens that I'd never eaten before. Celery in a salad, and I didn't like celery before, and raw onions and all these kinds of things I hadn't had before. And I was like, whoa, this actually tastes really good. I could eat this way. And so it was, starting there and kind of going through the years of finding what things worked for me and what recipes I really loved. Just knowing that there were recipes in the beginning that I would love was super motivating to me. So I see a steadfast soul just came on and said that you've got blood issues. So you're going to take treatment into your own hands and start out with this. This is great. I'm proud of you. Of course, you want to, stay under doctor supervision as you do any of this kind of stuff. But welcome to the clan. Welcome to the family. We're so happy to have you here. I'm so happy to have you here. And stick with us. We've got lots of really good information about this lifestyle and experience as well. So it wasn't until someone actually made the food for me that was like, oh, gung ho, I can do this. And I, guys, jumped in head first for 3 months, was like, this is it. This is my lifestyle. I'm doing this. I lost 22 pounds in 6 weeks. It was like so easy. And then one of the main reasons why I started in the first place was because I was very open to the message of healing the body at the time, because at the time I was going through a rough, 2013 was not my year. I was getting divorced. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. My best friend was diagnosed with ALS. Like, I was never happy with my food and my weight and all this kind of stuff. And I knew there was something out there that must do this. Like, you must not always have food issues. Like, why, why do we all have food issues? And I'm coming from a place of food addiction, binging, hoarding, lots of those kinds of behaviors in my past, and just wanting to stop that, knowing that I could somehow, I just didn't know what that answer was. So I found Eat to Live. And the problem was, at the time, I was the caretaker for my father because I had moved out from where my husband and I lived, my ex-husband and I lived, and then I moved in with my dad, and immediately he was diagnosed with cancer. So I started taking care of him. And I had just had these messages in my head, I have to heal myself. I have to get better. I have to try to get him better, whatever. That didn't work out too well with him, but he, he couldn't really tolerate the food. And then unfortunately, the cancer progressed and he ended up passing just a few months later. That was really, this place where I had only been doing it for 3 months, and it wasn't enough to really know enough about it or do enough of it to be able to get through that tough place in my life without cracking. So I immediately was like back to my old diet. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep going. And so I took like several months off of my sort of grieving, going through this process. And it wasn't until I kind of went through that for a few months that I was like, you know what? This isn't right. I know the way I felt before when I was losing weight. I know the way I felt before when I was eating the food. It wasn't just about the weight loss either. It was about the energy that I had, the way I felt, how proud I was of the food I was eating, knowing that this was food that was good for me, that was going to support my longevity and all that. So I end up going back to it. And it was like just several years, and it's been 5 years for me now that I've been doing Eat to Live, of going back and forth and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And it's not always easy to kind of stay on the right path because we all have different challenges in our lives, right? So for me, that first challenge of knowing I wasn't going to like the food, I completely got to kick that one to the curb and go, nope, it's just about finding the right recipes, right? It's just about finding the stuff that's tried and true that people love, and maybe having a little bit of salt in the beginning to kind of get through it. I don't think it's super important for everyone to do every single little thing right away. It can be too overwhelming. Some people that works, but most people I don't think that works for. So kind of do the things that you can do. You bite off the little pieces that you can, and you improve over time. Um, and so I was very happy to see that there were some recipes that I love. Check out the recipes I have on my YouTube channel. There's a bunch of those that I really love. Maybe some of those will become your favorites too. So, number two thing here is about not wanting or not thinking you're going to be able to get over your sugar addiction. So, guys, sugar is my thing. If you watch my videos before, like, I have such an issue with sugar. I was always, I'll tell you a little story. When I was, I think, when I 20, like around 20, I had moved to Arizona, and I just remember very specifically the apartment I lived in. I would get my period every month, and I would have these cravings for M&Ms, right? I would every single month I would go and I would get 2 bags of whatever types of Oreo or M&Ms I was interested in at the time, but not like little bags, like the big bags, like, and I would eat the whole thing. And like one day, and I would get these headaches and I would feel terrible. And the next day I would be like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Every single month, it was like the sugar, sugar, sugar. And every single time I said to myself, I don't want to do that again, I would always do it again. Every month, even the next day, sometimes it was like just this thing I couldn't handle. And maybe you guys can relate with that. Do you have any, feelings like that, or have you in the past ever had feelings like that where you just can't really get over that sugar thing? Well, we know that sugar is addictive. We know that. Let's see if there's any questions here. We're talking about Cam says, I'm so glad you talk about the difficulties of staying on path. Makes me feel much better. Yeah, see, I'm not just like a talking head. I know I'm coming from this. I know these hoarding and binging. I've totally done this. You guys are saying you can so relate. Good. Um, because what's exciting is that you can go from that to where I am now, which is peace, feeling happy about my food, feeling proud about what I'm putting into my body, and knowing that I'm not going to be having those um, types of binges anymore with just this food that does nothing for you. And in fact, it's just harmful, right? It does nothing for you. It only gives you a huge dopamine surge, and then it doesn't do anything for your health or anything in the future. So you know that you can sort of get on track and stay eating this good food. This point I'm trying to make, but not making very well, is that what I learned over my journey was going from that sort of M&M binging to where I am now. The way that I did that was by eating the food, eating nutritarian food. And you know now that I didn't like the food in the beginning. I didn't think I was going to like the food in the beginning, and I found ways to like it, but that was a concern for me. And to get over that sugar thing, what ended up happening was first, I would replace what I had before. So no more M&Ms, no more junk food candy, no more just processed, and then processed things too. Like when my father passed, I went back to a diet of 100% pasta and like butter. And so I replaced all that. I was like, no more of that. I'm going back to whole food. So I went back to, the nutritarian lifestyle, started to get these things going back in my body. And I realized, and I've talked about this before on my channel, that when you eat this food, when you get in those nutrients and all the fiber and the antioxidants and the, bioflavonoids and all these wonderful things, vitamins and minerals, of course, but everything else too, these micronutrients, when you get in this food on a regular basis, it actually helps your body to start processing things better. So you can detox things easier, you can remove wastes easier. The dopamine levels and the dopamine receptors get reset in your brain. Your taste buds get fixed back to fighting shape, and you can really taste things again instead of being totally saturated with salt and sugar and oil. I was mentioning something on the Facebook Live about this idea of take a potato, just a white potato, and boil it and then eat it and tell me if you like it. Right? I love baked potatoes, but only when I go to Longhorn and get them with sour cream and cheese and tons of salt and, you know, tons of butter and these kinds of things. That's the only time I like potato, which shows me I don't actually like potatoes. I like sour cream and butter and salt and these kinds of things and cheese. And so I realized that with a lot of foods that, wow, it's actually the salt and the oil and the sugar that's what I like. It's not just, I mean, if you eat, they have these low sodium bread, at the store. I tried to eat one of that one time and I was like, oh, that's not very yummy. And the reason is because we like the salt, the sugar, and the oil, and not the actual food itself necessarily. So when we go to whole foods and we're sort of reworking our taste buds and getting things to kind of like be back in fighting shape, we start to appreciate those foods so much more. And then what happens with sugar is that as we first start to replace all those processed sugars with whole sugars, right? So like dates. Like we don't use honey anymore. We don't use maple syrup. We give up, yes, for real, all that stuff, all the agave nectars, all that kind of things. And then we replace it with just whole foods. So it might be from dates or from raisins or just the actual whole food. Maybe we blend that into a smoothie or we mix it into our oatmeal so we get a little bite of sweetness every once in a while. We're using these sugars. Now we've greatly improved our diet just from one change, right? No more processed sugars, only whole food sugars. Then we get to a place where we're like, wow, we actually slow down the absorption of that sugar from our from all that fiber that's connected to the dates, that's connected to the raisins. We're adding it along with, oatmeal and salads and lots of other fibers from other plant foods. We're slowing down that digestion so we don't get as much of an insulin spike. We actually are reacting better to these foods. And then we realize that after we've been doing this for a while, then we can move on to reducing the amount of dates, reducing the amount of raisins, not needing that much sweetness anymore because now our taste buds are fixed and we're loving the flavors of the foods that are with those dates a lot more. So, this type of a progression is something that happens over time. I promise you, it happened to me. Now, I went from eating, massive amounts of processed sugar to being completely okay with regular smoothies and regular amounts of foods. So that is definitely possible. And it's the food that actually does it, it's the fiber that actually does it. So, in order to get over those cravings, we must eat the nutritarian food. That's what's hard in the beginning, right? Because we have to sort of get over that hump of all these different things that are healing the taste buds, the dopamine receptors, all that, the satiety levels. But as we get there, it gets easier and easier, easier. I'm going to look into the comments here. We have plant-based whole food lifestyle says, or sorry, nutritarian for health and fitness says, I actually like plain potatoes. Okay, well, I think you may be closer to a unicorn there. I don't think there's tons of people that love plain potatoes, but if you do, still, you understand what I mean, right? This point about um, try to eat just something plain without the sugar, oil, and salt the way you used to. And for instance, right, if you like plain potatoes, you probably would eat less of them than you would had they had the salt, oil, and sugar that you used to eat before. So it's this kind of idea that also if we're eating plain potatoes versus the M&Ms, right? That's going to be a little bit better choice for us than having M&Ms plus maybe the potatoes with all that salt and sugar and sour cream and that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of thing that we want to think about there. And yeah, we have three people that are like, "Oh, I love plain potatoes." Okay, you guys, cool, but you know what I'm saying, right? um, but yeah, okay. So the salt, sugar, and the oil that really does help us to eat a lot more of those foods, right? So we would eat less calories of those potatoes than if we were to just have them plain. Somebody says what I find hard is that I need a lot of calories with minimal amounts of serving size due to gastroparesis. Okay, so you have a little bit different, sort of challenge here, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. But there are ways that you can sort of change things around. So I wonder if a lot of calories with minimal amounts of serving size. So I wonder if you can do more smoothies and you can blend things with nut butters and things that are higher calorie. Nuts and seeds are a really wonderful part of the Eat to Live diet. You could also blend beans in there as well to kind of add some of those higher calories and less amount of food. So smoothies would be a good idea. Also, making those salad dressings with nuts and nut butters, adding in some more of those things, oatmeal, grains, things like that. That's kind of an easier way to get more calories quickly if you kind of have the opposite challenge of most of us. What else do we have? Um, let's see. Somebody Cam says I had blanched green beans tonight and it was so good. I think I'm getting there. Yeah, that's so I want to make a little point about that. That's interesting. You just blanch some green beans, right? You've got some raw green beans. You just throw them in some hot water real quick, and then you take them out and cool them off and eat them. And you go, wait a minute, this tastes awesome. What that means is that you are getting those taste receptors on your taste buds back to fighting shape. You're getting back to where they're supposed to be because you're reducing that salt, oil, and sugar so that the taste buds can finally start to really appreciate the little nuances of those flavors. And that is really what is helpful to help us love all the foods that we're eating, right? Even to love the flavors of greens and green vegetables and things we maybe wouldn't have eaten a ton of before. Okay, I want to make a little note here, real quick, guys. I have a survey I'd love for you to fill out. What I'm doing is trying to create a product that is going to be helpful for you to help you understand how to make Eat to Live more a part of your lifestyle, not just a hobby. Like I sort of say this sometimes, more lifestyle, more something that you can do all the time for the rest of your life instead of just kind of flirting with it every once in a while. How can we make this part of our life? So please, there's a link in the description, and also I'm going to put one in the comment section when we're done. That's about this survey. Basically, just asks you about your um, experiences with food. What are your struggles with, and what do you think would be helpful for you? for learning and things like this. How do you learn best? Stuff like that. It's just a real quick survey. Just take a couple minutes, and it would help me out so much to understand more of your needs. And there's a giveaway attached to it. So if you fill out the survey, you actually be entered in a giveaway for a $30 Amazon gift card, to say thank you for being so awesome and doing that survey for me. So please fill that out. I'm going to put a link for that soon. So we talk about, this food actually being able to help us get over that sugar and carb addiction. That's what does it over time. It's about actually getting in there and just eating the food, and letting that to allow the healing changes in the body of, all those things we talked about, like the taste buds and the dopamine receptors. So the other thing that we sort of worry about, number three myth about the eat to live diet, is worrying that if I lose the weight, I'm just going to gain it all back again, right? And how many times have we done this? I've done this so many times. And it's like the most annoying thing, right? We put so much effort into doing something, we're feeling so good, it's going so well, and then we fall off again. This happens most of the time because we are doing these diets that are kind of fads or gimmicks, or they're just, more about like the gimmick, right? So counting points, or I can only eat this much of this thing, and it's like I only eat meat, I only, this sort of low carb stuff. It's not like about the macronutrients, right? We're always talking in Eat to Live about it's an abundance of these whole plant foods. And sure, Eat to Live has sort of guidelines and rules for what we're doing, of course. But when you look at a diet, does it actually support your health? Does it actually support your longevity? And it's not just based on a gimmick. That's the distinction I'm trying to make here, is that if you look at the way it works, does it actually, is the whole thing about making you live longer? Is the whole thing about helping you to live your healthiest life and feel your best? If it's just about weight loss, steer clear. That's not what we that doesn't work. That's kind of an indication that it's not going to work. So in Eat to Live, we talk about I'm afraid of losing the weight, but then gaining it back. That's totally understandable. And I personally have actually done that a couple times while getting through this Eat to Live stuff, right? From when I first started, like I said, my dad died, and I didn't really have those habits in place enough in order to stick with it for the long haul. But what I found over time was two things. It was eating the food, which over time detoxed my body, and it got all those wastes and all that, the crap that I'd eaten for so many years, getting that stuff out of my body. Um, and then also taking in those nutrients at the same time. Those two things at the same time are what as we're talking about before, over time reduce those cravings for us. So it's easier to want to eat the food because it tastes amazing, and to feel full from it because we get to eat enough, and to be getting these benefits of extra energy and things like this too. So we have to actually eat the food. But what's exciting is that the food is actually what makes us repair our body and also keep the weight off over time. And as we know, Eat to Live is about high nutrient foods with low calories. And it maybe doesn't sound sexy, but that's what it's all about. That's what our longevity comes from. So, getting tons and tons of these wonderful micronutrients and a low amount of calories to keep our weight in check over time is what really does it for us. And what this is going to do then is keep you at that naturally low weight. But you've got to do some of that work. You got to get the habits in place. You've got to really understand how to cook the food and take the time to do it. Put this lifestyle into your life and really, really commit. Let me see if I got some questions here real quick too. Amanda Mason asked if there's a suggestion for a dressing she can make with sunflower seeds as the fat. Absolutely. You can actually take any dressing, any nutritarian dressing recipe out there, and replace the nut with sunflower seeds. That's a really great way, and that's really creamy and yummy too. Frankie asks, speaking of salt, baking kale chips instead of salt, what do you recommend for seasoning? So I would recommend lemon juice first and foremost. That's one of my favorite sort of savory. It kind of mimics the feeling of salt or the taste of salt a little bit. So if you did like a cashew cream and added a bunch of lemon juice into it, that you could actually even take that mixture, the blended cashews and lemon juice, maybe some nutritional yeast, and even some, maybe feel like some cayenne pepper or something, like, to blend that up into a nice creamy thing. You can even use that. You don't even like, so, mix your kale chips in, bake those, and you've got a really nice chip. But you can also use that as a salad dressing. You can use it as a dip for Steamed veggies, you can use it for lots of different things. So I say lemon juice is the best way to kind of get that. Oh, and also tomatoes as well. Tomatoes have like one of the best kind of naturally salty flavors from all that glutamate that's present, which is the same thing that's present in that MSG is made of, basically. So tomatoes and lemon are a really great way. I also have a PDF that explains a lot of great salt substitutes in my video. That's 10 ways to flavor soup without salt, Frankie. So check that video out and get that PDF because there's a lot of really good ideas in there. Um, Nutritarian for Health and Fitness says, yeah, that's why even after all these years, they read it in 2011. Wow, amazing. And not being perfect, I still call myself a nutritarian and I strive to eat a nutritarian diet because it's about health. Absolutely. That is such an important point, and thank you for saying that because our journeys could be long, but we're never gonna be perfect probably, but that's okay. The nutritarian diet isn't even about 100% perfection, it's about 90% perfection for maintenance over life. So it's important to kind of be gentle with ourselves and be okay with the idea that we don't have to be perfect, and certainly our journey towards health doesn't have to be perfect to be better than what it was before, right? Like, look at my M&M habit. Like, just having I always say in my coaching, right? One meal out of 100 that's nutritarian is far better than 0 meals out of 100, right? Now, one meal out of 100 doesn't seem like a lot, but it's better than nothing. And I love this thing that's it's not all or nothing, it's all or something. So just keep going, just keep trying a new thing. And I'm gonna have some tips at the end of this that you can try to incorporate in your life. Just keep building those habits, and it will get better and better and better, and you will get closer and closer to your health goals. So, the food is really good for us. It actually helps us reduce the cravings. It's all about abundance, too. We know that we're supposed to be eating these really big portions. So, when we talk about all the other diets, those are based on portion control, they're based on reduction, they're based on taking things out. But once you get used to what the foods are we eat and eat to live, it's about eating a lot of those, right? With a few exceptions. It's about eating as much greens as we can. It's about eating as much green vegetables as we can. And you might think to yourself, oh, who wants to eat a ton of green vegetables, right? But that's the beauty of this is that over the years, over the months, over the weeks even, we can quickly get to the place where you're like, wow, that soup tastes good. And maybe a few months prior, we wouldn't have liked that soup because we were used to Panera soup, soup from any restaurant that's full of sodium and other things. Right? So just working to incorporate more and more of these foods will help us to make those physiological changes. Okay. And then the number 4 myth that people always are worried about is that this lifestyle takes too much time and effort to eat this way. Okay. So this is a tough one because yeah, it does take time and effort. It definitely does. It's something that you have to really commit to. But what I want to say is just compare this to any other thing you would undertake in your life, right? A new exercise program. Have you ever tried a new exercise program? And it doesn't have to be anything intense. Like it doesn't have to be the insanity program or anything like that. But let's say you just decide to go for a walk every day. No big deal, just a mile or two, just around your block, maybe. That is more effort than you ever put into that before, right? And you had to actually take maybe a half an hour of your life to put your shoes on, to plan when you're going to do it, to get out the door and actually do the walk and then come home. So that's itself is just a small, tiny change, but it's something you actually have to put effort into making it happen. Sometimes I get comments from people that say they'll actually email me and go, "Oh, I had one client who I was doing email journal coaching with, and we went through a full month of email journal coaching. And I remember at the end of it, she said, I just can't believe that it's not easy. Like, I thought this was just going to be so easy." And I just had to say to myself, like, well, if it was easy, first of all, everyone would be doing it. Yeah, everyone would be doing it. Like, there would be no reason for anyone to be doing anything else, right? But the quick fixes are never the permanent fixes. They're never the things that actually give us the benefit that we want. Like, you can't go through and get a college diploma by just signing a paper, right? You like actually have to do the assignments and put the work in. And if you want a promotion at your work, you don't get that by just walking into your boss's office and asking for it. You actually have to do the work and prove that you're a good employee and all that kind of stuff. I have somebody spamming here. Let me see if I can um, report them and remove. Okay, report, spam. Okay. And let me see if I can remove them. Um, remove, hide user. Okay, that should work. Um, okay, so as we kind of go through this, we have to realize that anything that we do is going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. It's going to be a change. That's why we call it a lifestyle change, right? But the good news is, and from a coach's perspective, I know this to be true. From a successful nutritarian's perspective, I know this to be true. And when I say successful nutritarian, there's a big, huge asterisk behind that. That's like not all the time though. Like I definitely have some issues, right? Still that I'm working through. But that's okay. That's our journey. That's where we are. If you put in the work, it gets easier and easier and easier. I promise you. That is like the biggest, hugest promise I can ever give you. The more work you put in, the longer you do it, the easier and easier it gets. You get this place where you're like, oh my gosh, I would literally never go back to that old way of eating. I just can't even fathom it anymore. I really love the food. It tastes amazing and it supports my health. What more can you want? And you don't feel that way in the beginning, but you will get there, I promise. So keep up the hard work. Um, okay, uh, now I have just 6 quick tips that are going to help also with this. The difficulty in the beginning here. So I'm going to give these to you. Make sure you guys thumbs up this video if you like it, if you're getting something out of it, and if you want me to do more live videos, that's the important thing. I really like doing live videos, but I don't know if everyone loves them. And if you like this topic as well, let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. And then share this with your friends too if you like it and you think it might help them. So, some of my favorite time saving hacks for when you get started on Eat to Live. Number one is to choose one recipe per week and make that every single and do that every single week. Not that recipe, but make one new recipe per week. This is why, because it's not overwhelming, right? Just one recipe per week isn't overwhelming, but it also is like if you do it consistently, by the end of the year, man, you're going to have like at least 50 new things that you've tried. And some of them you're going to like and some of them you won't, but you'll know a lot more about the cooking and the lifestyle and how to do this. And as you go, it won't overwhelm you and you kind of putting yourself into your own little boot camp there. Number two is investing in the right equipment for your journey to make the cooking and prepping a lot easier and faster. And I can't stress this one enough. I want you guys to check out on my page is on the wateringmouth.com, my website. I'm going to put this in the description too, but I had forgotten to put this in before. There's a page on there right at the top. You'll see stuff I love. If you click on that page, you'll be able to see all these things I'm talking about that I think are so important for the beginning of your journey. The first one I think that is most important is like really good knives. Because if you hate chopping stuff and your knives don't work and they're dull and it's really difficult to get through carrots or onions or whatever it is, you're going to have not a very fun time trying to cook. So invest in some really nice knives, and that's safer for you too. The other thing is the Vitamix. Now, I talk about Vitamixes a lot. I know they're expensive. I saved up for my first one. I actually had, it was right around, because I started this in June and my birthday was in July. And I asked friends to give me gift certificates to Bed Bath & Beyond so I could get a Vitamix. I ended up getting like, I think $75 or something total. Plus I used the 20% off coupon. So all that together was enough to, kind of make a little dent in the price of that. And I was happy to finally invest in that Vitamix. And I have used it every single day for the last 5 years. Never a single problem with it. And I've used it at least once, 2, 3 times sometimes every day, is like salad dressings and smoothies and lots of different things that I make in there. So I think Vitamixes are so important. The reason high-speed blenders are so important versus regular blenders is because you can pulverize dates, you can pulverize nuts and seeds and things that would be chunky, greens and vegetables and stuff. They would be chunky in a regular blender, but this way you can really love your smoothies and your salad dressings a lot more. And it really does add to your nutritarian journey. So consider that, save up for it. And, when you make an investment in your health like that too, it also helps you to stay on track because you're like, well, I spent so much money. Now I really got to do it? Um, so, okay, Marcia, and you guys really like these live videos. That's great. Hit the thumbs up button on it if you do. Um, let's see. Jeannie is doing the 10 and 20. She's starting the 10 and 20 tomorrow. So awesome. Get it, girl. I have a whole series of videos on the 10 and 20. So watch those, and those will probably help you. Um, and yeah, Cam has the NutriBlend, which really helps. Good. And the Instant Pot. Yeah, I have to say, I just started using the Instant Pot about 6 months ago, and it's changed my life. I need to actually put that on the Stuff I Love page because I can make beans from scratch, in just an hour or two. I don't have to soak or anything like that. So those tools are really important. Okay, next tip, take a week or two and follow a meal plan. I highly suggest the 10 and 20, which I was just talking about with Jeannie here. I have a whole series on that. Check that out. I have a link for that in this video as well. So check out the 10 and 20, which is a detox program from Dr. Furman himself, the Lose 10 Pounds in 20 Days Detox Program. I love this program because it's a lot of work and it makes you make a lot of recipes, but it's like boot camp, you guys. Like once you're done with it, it's too much maybe for some of you to do, but you don't have to do the whole thing either. You can just do one recipe a day or whatever it is. But once you're done with it, oh my gosh, you know so many recipes and you really, 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 um, it really adds to your journey to know so much in such a short period of time. Not to mention the fact that I didn't have a ton of weight to lose and I lost 7 pounds in the first 10 days. Like it was fast. So consider that. So I think meal plans and things like that are a really good way to kind of understand. And also, you can get leftovers and stuff too, because the 10 and 20 makes a little bit too much to eat. So you can make leftovers and then have them for later, which saves a lot of work. And then the next tip is actually that to specifically make dishes that create a lot of leftovers, like casseroles and soups, which are my favorites, because then you can just make a big pot or a big pan of them, save portions of them to just warm up later. My favorite soup tip is to I'll make huge pots of soup and then I'll let it cool off. And at night, I'll get out I have these like old Thai containers that I'll portion into stuff I'm going to have for the week. I'll put that in the fridge, like 4 to 6 containers in the fridge, 2 or 3 cup portions. But then with the rest of it that's left over, I take those quart size Ziploc bags and I fill up 2 to 3 cups, one portion into a Ziploc bag, close it up, label it, and then I'll lay them flat on a cookie sheet to freeze in the freezer. And then that way they're kind of like these little, tall bricks that I can just stick in anywhere in my freezer. Makes it very sort of efficient in the freezer that way. And I love also because you can thaw them out quickly. It just takes 20 or 30 minutes in some warm water and your lunch is ready to go. So I love to do that with casseroles and with soups and stuff because then you have lunch when you're in a pinch later on. The next tip is to buy convenience nutritarian foods at the grocery store, like getting the pre-chopped veggies, the bagged and pre-washed greens, frozen fruits and veggies, and it will really like cut your prep time, and then you really don't have a lot of nutrient loss with at least the frozen vegetables and fruits. But don't be so perfect with yourself. Don't try to be perfect about everything. It's okay to buy pre-chopped things if it's going to make your life easier and make you stay on track. Don't try to get every single detail right, because that is a quick formula to going off the diet, to going off the lifestyle and saying this is too much work. Do the things that work for you, and as you go, build more habits in. Um, let's see. So, thank you for encouragement. You're welcome, Frankie. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. After my lunch salad, I don't feel hungry, Marcia says, so I don't eat dinner. Perfect. Don't. That's a great technique, actually, is this intermittent fasting that we do anyways. So, it's best to stop eating kind of as early as you can during the afternoon or evening, anyway, so you have more time for your body to detox overnight. Cheryl, don't worry. I'm so happy to see you, friend. This is going to be put up automatically once I'm done, so you can just re-watch everything. Okay. Michelle asks, she's just getting started. Welcome to the club. How much money would you say it costs to eat this way a month? Good question. It depends, really. I think my budget is around $500 to $600 a month. Sounds like a lot, right? There might even be a little bit more. Sometimes we go to restaurants and stuff. We have that in a separate budget. Sounds like a lot. I want you to think about the cost savings of not having to go to the Walgreens or the drugstore for cold medicine, cough drops, allergy medications, pain medication, the things that you're going to heal from this diet. And it maybe sounds like a lofty thing. It maybe sounds like a thing that's too far off to actually get a cost savings from, but it can happen quick. And it happened for me. I haven't, like, I never get sick, you know? So those are short-term type savings. Also, I never go to Starbucks anymore. And I used to, I think I used to spend at least $50 a week at Starbucks when I started. That is way too much money at a coffee house, right? That's on top of the other food that I used to eat during the day. So when we really sort of add up, I remember like the story I had about going to it was a gas station and getting the M&Ms for my monthly craving kind of a thing. That wasn't in my food budget. That was just a random thing. I would just go eat these things. And if I was craving somewhere else, I would just eat, buy for this and pay for this. And I think that often we don't add those things into our budgets and we don't really think about that. So the cost savings over time, it really does. I think it's pretty even actually when you factor in the doctor's visits and copays and things like this. And then on top of that, that's just short term. We're talking about long term too. The savings in the future of when you're 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, and you don't have to go to the doctor as much. You don't need to, have 10 different prescriptions that cost you $400 a month, that kind of a thing. That's what we're really thinking about here. So it's worth the investment. It's just a kind of have to invest a little bit more in the beginning than you would later on. Okay. Yeah, Hello Nutritarian also has a great nutritarian food prep program. Absolutely. She's amazing. Love her. And I'm going to be interviewing her at some point in the future too. Um, and Winnie, yeah, Winnie had emailed me about gazpacho recipe that she uses for salad dressing. And I'm going to be making a video soon about salad dressing recipes. So look out for Winnie's salad dressing recipe. And Marcia says she thinks it's cheaper. The only difference is that you have to go grocery shopping more often. This is super, super true. Because you know, the foods, they're perishable, right? And you do have to go a little bit more often. I actually only go once a week usually, and sometimes even once every couple of weeks, because I found some great ways to keep things fresh. Like when I have greens in my fridge, I always keep them in the plastic bags that I got them in at the grocery store. I know food waste and or environmental sort of considerations there, but I always recycle those. I use them the same, when I go to the store, I bring them with me and pack them again. So I'll bring like my heads of romaine, put them into those plastic bags and add some paper towels in there, close them up with some air, and that will keep them really fresh. So I can keep heads of romaine for a week, week and a half. And once you find those storage, hacks, then it can become a little bit easier and you save a lot. Robin says that her budget is around 400 for a family of 3. That's fantastic. She says, I don't get stuff from Whole Foods unless I can get it anywhere else. Yeah, but my problem is I always shop at Whole Foods, right? I am on my own with my little girl during the day. So when I have to go shopping, it's only me. I'm the only one that can do that kind of stuff during the day. And so I end up just going to Whole Foods because I can only handle like one store at a time, which gets fussy and stuff like that. That's just the reality of my situation right now. But if you go to other grocery stores, you can save so much money and you can actually really, really get your budget down. So I should have qualified that a little bit that my 500, 600 a month was from Whole Foods, which, okay. So for anyone else going to regular grocery stores, you definitely can get your budget a lot less than what mine is. But also what I love about Whole Foods is that you never have to worry about the freshness. The food is always super fresh and it's going to last a lot longer than sometimes when I go to the grocery store, things aren't as high quality. But yeah, so typically that's what happens for me, but you can certainly save money in different places. And, beans are super cheap. I always make my own beans, so I don't buy them in the can anymore. You can save a lot of money that way as well. Um, and let's see. Cam says she went to the shops last weekend with a $5 coupon to use if she spent 35 and she had to buy a bottle of wine to make up the coupon. Yeah, fruit and vegetables don't really cost a lot. You're right. You know, and someone else on the Facebook Live said something about once you start getting those staples in your house, the grains, the beans, you have all these dry things and the nuts and seeds and stuff. Once you have that sort of in your house already, that takes a little while to kind of invest in and build up.